In the early 1900s, the French Sufi philosopher Abdul Wahid Yahya believed that he discovered a metaphysical secret that governed the entire planet and the lives of everyone on it, known as the Seven Towers of Satan, a concept that mixes contradictory elements of Abrahamic and pre-Abrahamic beliefs, folklore, and fantasy. These towers are believed to be so powerful that in 1939, the Germans were actively trying to find them. In the 21st century, many historians are convinced that this search is ongoing, executed by powerful organizations, striving to learn their secrets. The first location pinpointed by Yahya is the Afro-Arabian country of Sudan, home to one of the oldest civilizations on the planet and a direct cousin of the ancient Egyptians. Meanwhile, the country of Niger is believed to be the second. The third location highlighted is Syria, a country where the ancient Phoenicians lived and giants are rumored to have walked. The fourth is the Eastern European country of Turkestan, existing just beyond the outer fringes of the Middle East. The fifth and the sixth are further north in Russia's mountain range and in the western part of Siberia. The seventh are the lands that make up ancient Mesopotamia, that being Iraq, Iran, and by extension Afghanistan. In the 21st century, fringe research organizations and think tanks have stated that this area in particular is a lightning rod for negative anomalous activity. So in this episode, we'll examine exactly what the Seven Towers of Satan are, specifically within Iraq, and how this fringe theory have historically influenced the perception of one of Iraq's oldest pre-Islamic communities. Our adventure begins in the mid-2000s, when a series of alleged anomalous instances in Iraq resulted in the loss of several lives. In 2005, a US Army Criminal Investigations Department official was embedded within an infantry unit in the Sulaymaniyah government in Iraqi Kurdistan. Here, he was briefed about a mysterious creature attacking the locals that no one was able to identify. According to villagers, people were being hunted by a type of ghoul, which according to some traditions is a class of Djinn. This one in particular was described as being a very tall humanoid creature with disproportionately long arms and legs. What made this case significantly disturbing was that while according to our religion and lore, Djinn and ghouls tend to generally stay clear of living humans, this one in particular had a taste for human blood. Initially, the CID assumed that it was merely a crazed soldier who has gone AWOL, fatally attacking civilians due to the stress of the conflict. However, after several days of surveillance and searching, they could not find any evidence to support this theory. Meanwhile, the residents were adamant that something was indeed hunting and eating them, to the point that many were afraid to leave their homes, even during the daytime. According to the author Lon Strickler, in his book Phantoms and Monsters, the case took a bizarre turn when one evening the squad leader reported hearing a shrill, unearthly scream echo through the air outside, which seemed to come out from the direction of a nearby mountain pass. Under the bright light of the full moon, when they went to investigate, some of the villagers explained that the noise was the scream of the thing that had been feeding off them. However, within feet of closing in on the source of the howling, upon entering the pass using night vision and high-intensity lights, they found nothing, not a footprint or any evidence that any animal or man was there. It was as if it had vanished into thin air. A similar instance was reported at another time, when soldiers watching the perimeter spotted a humanoid figure about 100 yards away from the camp. It had apparently appeared out of nowhere and was just standing there. Using their equipment, they could see something vaguely human that was fully clothed, but similar to the CID incident, its body, arms, and legs were bizarrely out of proportion. Of most concern to the soldiers, this being was not giving off a heat signature, being the exact temperature of the air around it. As expected, this caused a commotion amongst them, and so they sent a team to approach the entity. When they got about 50 yards away, the being started walking, but not in any direction, just in one place. According to accounts, the entity looked like it was trying to walk, but instead of moving like a regular person, its bones were breaking and splintering backwards and forward at the joints. Its head was jerking around like a puppet, and by the time the convoy got a few yards closer, it vanished. When the team headed back to camp, the anomaly reappeared in the same spot. Instead of reapproaching it a second time, the camp studied it from a distance until it disappeared after several hours. So if these events really did occur, what do they have to do with the 7 Towers of Satan? Well, another instance of an encounter with an anomalous humanoid being occurred in an area of Iraq, closely connected to a community of Kurdish Iraqis called Yezidees. We'll get back to them and their connection to all of these instances later. But first, in the summer of 2006, in an area called Sinjar, home to the Yazidi tribe, one soldier reported that around 3 a.m., his equipment was registering a person approaching them from the base of the mountain. However, this individual could not be seen with the naked eye, even at 150 meters away, where it stopped and vanished. Similar to the earlier encounter with the distorted entity that walked without moving, this being did not give off a heat signature either. According to the lore and religion of Iraq, these 3 instances of humanoid-like beings appearing, disappearing, and even attacking people would be classed under the category of the aforementioned Djinn or ghouls. However, while Islam speaks of Djinn, secular sources such as exopolitics, which we mentioned in the previous episode, states that Iraq and its neighbor Iran are situated on top of vast energy portals that connect our reality with other dimensions, attracting aliens and otherworldly creatures to the area. Now, while this clearly sounds like science fiction, it's not a new concept. The turn of the 20th century French Sufi philosopher Abdul Wahid Yahya, more commonly known as Rene, states that there are 7 locations across Africa, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe that have a geographic topography that has been anonymously altered to accommodate negative energy, allowing supernatural instances to easily occur there. These 7 locations are called the 7 Towers of Satan due to the negative energy generated from these areas. Specifically, these locations are meant to be where the 7 angels fell from heaven, turning their landing points evil. Of course, within Islam, of which Yahya was a convert to, the idea of angels becoming demonic is rejected in our tradition, because angels are the definition of purity and thus cannot be corrupted. However, using this energy that is apparently generated here, Yahya states that some believe that with it, they can take possession of a singular dark force that exists in a parallel dimension, giving them power over the earth. It's been noted that in their research into occult technology, the Germans, under the direction of Heinrich Himmler, believed this and was actively searching for these locations in the 1940s. In fact, in March 2016, A collection of 13,000 occult and witchcraft books were found in the National Library of the Czech Republic in Prague belonging to him, proving the interest the Reich had in acquiring this power. Yet, how true any of the lore surrounding the actual existence of these towers is subject to debate. Within Iraq in particular, the Yazidi people have recently been directly connected to these towers by prominent Western occultists, while for centuries before that, they've been long accused of being Satanists by other Iraqis due to their alternative take on the creation story of man and their worship of a quote-unquote fallen angel. The Yazidis within Iraq have traditionally been viewed with suspicion and labeled as heretical because of their association with the worship of the peacock angel, known as Malak Tawus. In recent times, this suspicion turned extremely deadly for them, as they became the targets of extremists. This is despite its scholars stating that the belief has nothing to do with the worship of fallen angels or Satan. So what's the truth concerning their belief? Well, it's kind of a gray area. In the West, this association between the Yazidi and the occult can be traced back to H.P. Lovecraft himself and his close contemporaries from the early 1900s, even though the accusations in the Middle East predate their science fiction writings. Arguably, one of the most influential Orientalists from the 20th century, and known for subverting various Middle Eastern beliefs into far darker versions of themselves. It would appear that some of Lovecraft's writing have played a role in maintaining this narrative concerning the Yazidis, at least in Western occult circles. In the story The Horror at Red Hook, Lovecraft speaks specifically of the Kurdish Yazidis as the last survivors of the Persian devil worshippers. The Horror of Red Hook was first published in January 1927, 9 months before the publication of William Seabrook's travel log, Adventures in Arabia, among the Bedouins and Yazidi devil worshippers. This work has become an important source for many occultists in understanding the Yazidi tradition. In this travel log, Seabrook, an occultist himself, makes the claim that the Yazidis are not only devil worshippers, but they control an extensive network of 7 towers to broadcast their energy across the world, according to him, in a theory that significantly differs from Abdul Wahid Yahya's research. These towers do not stretch from Niger to Russia, but instead from Japan to Iraq. They're located on a chain of 7 isolated mountaintops across Asia. Seabrook claims that from each one of these towers, a priest would maintain these broadcasts of dark energy to the rest of the world. It should be noted that, unlike Lovecraft, who openly stated that his work is pure science fiction and should not be taken remotely seriously, Seabrook, whose writings are clearly influenced by Lovecraft, states that his version of the 7 Towers lore is true. Consequently, critics have trashed his assertions as complete nonsense, as the Kurdish Yazidi culture has zero historical and cultural connections to Japanese and Chinese heritage in the ways that he describes. According to Birgül Senegal, a lecturer of art history at the Mardin Artukulu University in Turkey, and an expert on Yazidi culture, there is no evil in the Yazidi thought. These accusations of Satanism are merely the result of their significantly different take on the Abrahamic creation story. According to their belief, Lucifer did not betray God and create evil, but simply manifested himself to the world, becoming the bridge between humans and the Creator. So in conclusion, a semi-fictional narrative has grown around the Yazidi community in both the East and the West, encompassing everything from the mainstream religion to the writings and research in the works of Abdul Wahid Yahya and William Seabrook, amongst others. If they're truly satanic or not, given what they say concerning their version of the creation story and how they view key figures in it, is up to you to decide. Regardless, the outstanding issue that remains concerns the existence of the Seven Tower, or more specifically, the alleged paranormal energy that is said to have at one time and maybe still be present in these locations. While there is clearly a lot of myth regarding the supernatural legacy of Iraq and some of its people, maybe within that myth, there are still kernels of truth concerning ancient Mesopotamia and the unspeakable horrors that could be hidden in its history. What do you think? What perspective do you take? Sound off in the comments, like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.